What's going on, everybody? This is Pitch the World, episode 12. There we go, Drew. This is actually our final episode of the season. Drew, are you sad?
I'm very sad. What do I do with my time?
I don't know. I don't know. But Thursday nights at 6 won't be the same for a while. So, you'll just have to watch replays of this, right?
We've had a good run. We've had a good run.
Yeah. So, for those of you tuning in for the first time, Pitch the World is an entrepreneurial centered Facebook Live broadcast. We have guests typically in the entrepreneurial space. Um, Tonight, we have someone in blockchain and cryptocurrency, Alex Mashinsky. So, we want to welcome Alex to the show. But we also have topics such as business, mentorship, entrepreneurship, mental health, a lot of blockchain and cryptocurrency. And this week is like a very interesting week if you've been paying attention to the news. So it's actually perfect timing to have someone like Alex join us. So, Alex, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Welcome, Alex.
Sure. Thanks for having us. And obviously, after the last 2 weeks, I think we can talk about mental health in addition to cryptocurrencies. I think they're kind of go together with ups and downs of Bitcoin and Libra and all the other stuff that's happening.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, Alex, you're the CEO of the Celsius Network, and I ran through your profile, and you just have a tremendous pedigree, entrepreneurial path, many exits, many business ventures, a tremendous career thus far. So, we want to hear a little bit about that. But I know Drew wants to do a little bit more of a formal introduction and get into some of your background.
Absolutely. Well, Alex, as Adam said, your background is mind blowing, and really, what fascinated me was you were an early developer, an early part of the voice over internet protocol. Am I correct in saying that?
Yes, I wrote the original patents and wrote the protocol, built the first gateway. There were I'm talking about 1994. Like a lot of young viewers think that voice over IP was invented when Skype or WhatsApp or any of these companies came to be. But the reality is that when the internet was still a dial-up modem kind of service, a few of us pioneers have thought that the entire phone network would run on the internet. Back then, the entire internet ran on the phone network. So that's why when my tagline, when we kind of coined the phrase VoIP to MOIP, going from voice over IP to money over IP. So it's kind of like watching the same movie the second time or the third time. You kind of know what it ends. So it really helps avoid the dark alleys and avoid going in reverse and finding the path as you trailblaze through these cryptocurrencies. Wild West. It's a total amazing experience. I love it. A lot of people are suffering through it. I'm enjoying every day. So,
no, that's great.
It's certainly a roller coaster ride. The cryptocurrency world, and you kind of have to have like an even keel about things, right? And also you kind of have to have the same sort of feeling in business too. Never get too high, never get too low. When you're dealing with, let's say, a challenge or an endeavor in business as well.
Well, so think about it as going on a roller coaster in your favorite park. Try to do it with your eyes open, and then you love it, right? You enjoy the thrill going up, going down, but try to do it with your eyes closed, where you don't know what's about to happen, right? You don't know when it's about to crash and take you down and so on. That's really the experience that most people go through when they buy cryptocurrencies, right? They kind of think that they're buying it at just the right time. And obviously, on average, everybody buys it at the top, right? That's just the definition of the market. So here, what you really have to think about it, this analogy of open eyes and closed eyes is, if you understand how the market operates, then you navigating it with your eyes open. And if you don't understand how it navigates, then you really riding this with your eyes closed. And I have a very simple analogy that maybe will help some of your viewers or listeners to go through this. So if you think of the last 11 years of cryptocurrencies as a relay race, like a 4-man relay race, the Satoshi invents this amazing thing, right, called the Bitcoin. And who is the first set of people who come and grab the baton from Satoshi, right? The first racer are the anarchists, right? So they come, they're going to use it for all kind of bad reasons. And, about 1 million people join them, right? And they basically run up the price 10x, 100x, but they don't have enough users, they don't have enough use cases, and they basically drop the baton. They have to hand off the baton to the next racer, which were the libertarians, right? So between each handoff, you can see the Bitcoin kind of dropping 80% because each time you do a handoff, you lose a lot of users, right? A lot of people leave. And that's where there's less users, there's less demand, the prices go down. So the same thing happened with libertarians. 3 million libertarians show up. They think they're going to save the world with this thing, right? Same baton, same Bitcoin. And they try to finish the race. They can't, and they hand off the baton. The third group is the speculators, right? They come in, they say it's not about saving the world or blowing up the world. It's about making money. And we know we're going to hand off the batons to the institutions. They run it to 20,000, and then we drop another 80%, right? So it's the same movie again and again and again. And it's up to you to decide when you are joining this up and down, right? Like right now, we had this big run up because of Facebook, and because of the issues with China, the trade wars and things like that, where people are looking for safety. And obviously now the bubble is deflating. I tweeted about a month ago that I thought that Bitcoin is going to come back to 8,000 to 9,000. You can look it up. And it's because it was too much too fast. And I think by next year, by the end of next year, we'll have new record highs. We'll get through that 20 to 25,000 as we kind of continue to build up the use case, the adoption, have more and more apps basically include Bitcoin and its other coins in use, right, in commerce, which will include, like I say, more utility, less volatility, right?
So let's talk education. When you're talking about the open eyes, closed eyes analogy and understanding the market, what is your advice, or how would you advise newcomers who want to learn more about this? What is your kind of entrepreneurial path on learning this space? How do you educate yourself?
So no, look, not everybody is Tim Draper or the Winklevoss twins, and they can just buy 1% of all the Bitcoins at $8 or $9, right? I mean, most of us just don't have that kind of conviction. Right. So, and even me personally, I look at Bitcoin when it was $8, and I said, it's going to require all the electricity on the planet to mine it. It's just completely inefficient. And I was right, but I was wrong, right? I was wrong that it will become a globally adopted new set of rails, right? I mean, just like if you think of voice over IP as the new set of rail that replaced the TDM network with the VoIP network, here we're replacing the traditional banking network with a new set of basically open distributed blockchain set of rails. So the advice to the average Joe who's not an expert in any of this is the same advice that Peter Lynch or Warren Buffett will give you about stocks, which is just every week you close your eyes, you don't look at the price, you take your favorite stock, or in this case, your favorite blockchain. Bitcoin is by far the favorite blockchain, right? It's more than 50% of the market cap of all of these coins. And you just put a little bit of money to work. That's what I do. I happen to buy GBTC because it's easy for me. I just put a recurring order in my, in Fidelity, and it just buys a few $1,000s worth of Bitcoin. And on average, I am always lower than the average price, right? Than the price at the time. I mean, rarely my average was above the price where it was trading. So I think somebody ran the stats that if you bought Bitcoin since 2015 consistently, you only had 4 days in which you were below the average price. So it just proves the model has proven itself very, very well. And again, if you put it as an automated order, you don't see it, you don't feel it. for me, I'm actually putting it in an account that doesn't even send me a statement because I don't want to see that statement. Because then I'll be tempted to sell it just at the wrong time.
Yep.
And then look, we are creatures of habit. We're creatures of fear and reward. And unfortunately, the whole herd is moving together. It's moving to the fear side, and then it's moving to the greed side together. And usually when you want to sell the most, that's exactly the point where you should be buying. Because that's the point of where the entire herd is there and all of the media and everybody's talking about it. Just like when everybody was talking about, oh, Libra is going to save all of our problems. It's going to solve everything, right? And Bitcoin hit 14,000 for a few minutes and we were all celebrating. That was a perfect time to sell, right? So again, I don't think anyone should trade. It's not, if you believe in the mission, you believe in the utility, you believe in the fact that the world is going to need a non-fiat based store of value, you should put 5 or 10% of your assets in this asset class, which is completely uncorrelated to everything else you have in your portfolio.
Interesting. So, I mean, you mentioned Bitcoin at $8. When did you first learn about Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, and what was the price that you bought your first Bitcoin or piece of a Bitcoin at?
I thought we were going to talk about fun things, not painful things. I already have pain. I went to the dentist this morning, and you're like inflicting pain on me again.
I'm so sorry, but I'm sure you did better than I did.
He's never going to come back on our show.
Never. You promised me. So one of the guys that worked with me in Arbanet sent me the white paper. I think it's 2009 or 2008. And he said, look, Alex, you're an innovator. You have 50 patents. You're always on the cutting edge. Look at this thing, right? And like I said, I looked at it and I was very, because I'm all about faster, cheaper, and better, right? That's you look at my entire career, every areas that I innovated in was all about an order of magnitude improvement on what already existed out there. And here, the paper was basically saying, we created the world's slowest database. It's going to require 2% of right now, the blockchain, just the Bitcoin blockchain consumes almost 2% of the world's electricity. It consumes more electricity than the entire country of Switzerland. So, and I saw that in 2009. I just did the math in my head. I was like, are you kidding me? This proof of work thing, the more it scales, it just goes crazy, right? So you're going to have a few thousand nodes running at this thing with all this hash power. It's just going to be, there's not enough electrons to mine. There's not enough electrons to mine the last Bitcoin on this planet. There's just not enough of them. That's how expensive and how, but that guarantees the value of the Bitcoin, right? Because that's exactly how it works. It's intended to be that way. So for me, it was the opposite of what I did my entire career, right? My 30 years of being on this planet, working on innovation, it went against everything that I learned during that period. And that's why it's so hard for a lot of people to adopt the public blockchain and to look at this as something, because it rewrites everything. I quoted this a few times, right? That you can't take a syringe and inject a blockchain into old businesses and think that somehow they're going to start running faster, better, cheaper, which is what a lot of companies are trying to do.
Yeah,
sorry?
That's what everyone's trying to do. That's what everyone's trying to do.
I'm sorry. That reminds me of the intranet. I remember when the internet came out and everybody's like, no, don't use the public internet. It's not safe. Create your own little internet and IBM or somebody else is going to run it for you and everything is going to be wonderful. Or AOL or whatever version you wanted, right? So the public network, the massive network, the largest network always wins. And here, Bitcoin is several orders of magnitude bigger than anyone else, just in hash power, right? So it always wins. It will always win against any private blockchain that this or that company is trying to look at. There are always going to be, corner cases that work great for private blockchains, but I'm talking about store of value, hundreds of billions of dollars, trillions of dollars being stored there. It's going to be something like the Bitcoin, right? So So the issue here, so I kind of said, no, I kept pushing it away. And 2013 came with Mt. Gox, and seeing how resilient the community was, right? Like, I mean, I think 70 or 80% of all the trading was happening on this exchange, and it blows up and everybody loses all their money, or it gets frozen, and it just keeps chugging along. I mean, it's just like, that was a death sentence right there. Nothing
How many deaths
recovers.
has Bitcoin had?
I know. It's amazing, right? So that was like a meteorite hitting the earth, and 99% of all the species dying, and only us survive. Us in an old version of being the mammals that were underground or whatever. So this is the same thing. It was a catastrophic event, and still life survived, right? So for me, it was like, I'm wrong and Bitcoin is right. That's what it told me, right? And I had to really jump into it, and so I came in a little bit later than usually. I'm 5 to 10 years ahead of everything. Like I did Uber before Uber with a company called Groundlink. 5 years before Uber was invented. They copied everything we did. We just forgot to do one thing. We forgot to subsidize the price by 50%. But even today, Groundlink is in more cities than Uber, but no one cares about that anymore. So back to Bitcoin. So I think the opportunity here is really to bring 7 billion people to this use case, right? And part just jumping into Celsius and doing a little bit of self-promotion here, what we focused on is saying, what's a killer app? What is the one thing that's going to bring 7 billion people? It's not store of value. Most of the people in the world don't have enough value to store it, right? So, but if you pay people interest, which they cannot get from any bank, right? Most of the world is negative rates. The US is 1% on if you were lucky and you know how to negotiate. But if you can deliver people 7 or 8% as a yield, then they will store the value, even the very few dollars that they do have. So Celsius basically allows people to deposit coins from all over the world, stable coins or Bitcoins or staking coins, return a yield, create a yield for them, 5 to 10% yield, annualized yield. And they can do it from their app on their phone with bypassing all the rails, bypassing all the banks. And that's something that did not exist in the 700 years that banks existed, right? So just like voice over IP allowed you to take a simple app and bypass your phone company, not pay AT&T $3 a minute to call Japan or Australia or whatever. The same thing here, right? We're bypassing the banks. Because remember, the banks take your money, right? They take a deposit and they lend it to Drew. They take your money, Adam, pay you 1%, lend it to Drew on his credit card immediately, and he's charged 25%. They keep 24% out of 25%. And no one is complaining. No one is going crazy and saying what the ripoff,
Yeah,
well, I'll tell you why.
I think people just feel.
Go ahead, Adam.
Yeah, and I mean, I think people are set in their ways in terms of, you got this federal backing for banking, and it's the traditional way of doing things. So it's
but you can have
easier.
You can have federal backing and still pay 7%. Look,
No, I understand.
JP Morgan made $31 billion in the last 12 months. 31 billion. That's $5 per person on the planet, right? So can they pay you 7% and still make money? Of course they can. Their return on capital is 18 to 19%. It's right there in their balance sheet. You can see that. It's public information. Go to their SEC filing and you'll see exactly how they make their money, where they make money. So the issue is not the FDIC. The issue is that the banks, because of so few banks, can get away with paying us 1%. And all of us don't take our money and go somewhere else. All of us continue giving the banks the money. So if the bank's power comes from us making deposits, just like AT&T's power, just to finish the point, AT&T's power came from all of us paying them $3 a minute to make phone calls. The minute an app came out that allowed you to bypass AT&T, they lost all their customers. So the opportunity here is for us, all of us, to stop. If this was a marriage, it would be a divorce after no time, right? One party is giving and one party is just taking. What kind of marriage is that?
Yeah.
And your point is absolutely correct. Is people aren't questioning things. They're not asking why or how. They don't always care to understand. The fact is, there's a scenario. I just want it done. I don't care how it's done. Just get it done. But if there's something easier that saves me less money, of course, that's going to be the first place I run to, because I'm just going to assume it's so. Like you're saying,
because it's safe. Yeah, the bank is safe. Right. You basically you are exchanging safety for lack of earning. The bank is saying, give it to me, it's safe, but I don't expect anything back, right? And what we're saying is, no, you can receive safety and real yield. Like when I came to the United States 30 years ago, Citibank paid 7% interest with just putting money in the bank. You didn't have to do anything, right? So why aren't they paying that anymore? They're earning it. They're earning triple that. The reason is because they don't have to, right? And again, it's time to bring power back to the people using the blockchain. It's time to convince and include all these people around the world that don't have this opportunity, right? I mean, most of the world's population is underbanked, right? Or unbanked. They don't have 5 credit cards. They don't have a mortgage. They don't have all this other stuff that we take for granted in the United States. And that's the opportunity for blockchain. That's the opportunity for Bitcoin. You want Bitcoin to be successful? Bring all these people in. Let them ride on this infrastructure. And that's what we felt that no one was doing. And that's why I created, me and Daniel created Celsius Network.
And I think the biggest issue, or the biggest question that we need answered is, how do the masses change the way they bank? How are the masses going to change from using the fiat currency to a digital currency? Because we all know that it can work. We all know that it can be tracked on blockchain, or at least we know that it can work that way. But the masses, the people that have 50 to 60 to 70 years of, this is how I transact business, this is how I get my money, this is how I store my money. How do we change their mindset in terms of how to bank?
To keep the analogy, right, I went to the dentist this morning. I think it was CNBC ran a survey, and they kind of said, they try to see what pain threshold would millennials go through to avoid going to the bank. And it came down to the dentist. That's where they said, okay, they rather go to the dentist than go into a banking branch. And I'm not even making it up. Google it. I mean, it's just unbelievable, right? So
millennials aren't the issue, I don't think.
So I'm saying they're dying for a solution. They're dying for somebody to give them something that works, that they can trust. The problem is trust, right? They don't trust their parents. They don't trust traditional financial institutions. They don't trust gold. They don't want to buy gold, right? And most of them grew up with tokens and things that they had in their games and so for them, like, tokens or coins are not some crazy idea that old people will never accept. For them, it's like, hey, I own tokens in all kind of places, right? So the issue for the community, for the crypto community, is to convince these people that this is safe. And the problem we have is that if you look at the leaders of the crypto community, one guy's bragging about going to jail, and another guy's bragging about killing people. I mean, these are not our heroes, right? Our heroes are we need to put different people on the pedestal. That's my point.
No, absolutely. And it's one of those things, as you playing with the Game Boys growing on, or the Words with Friends, all these mobile games that we've had, Alex, over the years, since Adam and I were around, this isn't a new concept. We've had in-game tokens. We've had in-game, or a form of a currency where it was only usable within that platform. So what this is expanding it into, how do I take that out of the Game Boy into a bank, into a grocery store, and use it? The concept works. And as you said, I think it's more of the security and the trust that is the issue, and what we're, especially with Facebook, and as data breaches have been over the past few years. And now that, with Libra, they're standing before Congress, this is really what's going to make the difference, I think, in my opinion. But Facebook having to answer questions A, for their data breaches, but B, for how is Libra going to work? Because if they can answer those questions about how to bring a global universal currency or platform to 5-6 billion users, I think that's going to say so much for how it can work. And that's just my opinion.
No, look, it's a good point, and I have a very strong opinion about the Libra as well. I think that Facebook, the people that brought you fake friends and then brought you fake news are now bringing you a fake blockchain, because it's not really a blockchain. When you have 24 validators who are each paid $10 million to be part of this kind of small group of, it's like, again, the 5 dominant banks. You want to replace your 5 dominant banks with 24 validators? All the spoils go to these validators, right? All the rewards go, all the income from this network goes to these validators. So what does Celsius do? Celsius issues loans, earns income, everything goes to the depositors. How much money will Facebook pay their depositors or their users? Zero. Nothing. They're promising nothing for the depositors. So how are they different than the banks? They're not different. You're going to replace one toll collector with another toll collector. So again, I urge all of your viewers to remember that you are the one, you with the assets, you are the depositor, you are enabling the people that either act in your best interest or do not act in your best interest. And we have these great Celsius shirts. We give them for free in every event that say banks are not your friend. Well, guess what? Libra is not your friend either. They're not acting in your best interest. And each one of us around the planet has to decide who we're going to give our assets to. And as long as we continue giving it to banks or toll collectors, we will not create an organization that acts in our best interest. I can tell you, Bitcoin, Ethereum, these decentralized platforms are definitely acting in your best interest. Definitely better than any of the other things we just talked about.
Do you think us as users, Alex, and maybe Adam, you can weigh in on this too, do you consider us the product or the service into whether it's a Facebook or maybe, what is our role? Kind of expanding on what you've said. Are we the product of these companies?
Well, we got used to being the product, right? I mean, Silicon Valley did an excellent job at milking us, giving us stuff for free, Gmail and you name it, right? I met Sergey when he was still in Stanford, and the tagline was "Do no evil." Right? When was the last time you heard Google mention that? Right? So all these companies start with a pretty kind of good mission, but when they have to continuously deliver earnings and dividends to their shareholders, they cannot both act in the shareholders' best interest and in their customers' best interest. So the problem we're having is that banks, even though they can pay these dividends to their depositors, they don't want to, because Jamie Dimon, the CEO of JP Morgan, does an excellent job for his shareholders. He extracts every quarter, he extracts more and more and more from his depositors, and he just hands it off to his shareholders. That's why Warren Buffett is one of the richest people in the world. All he did is put a chunk of money into Wells Fargo and into other dividend-paying companies, right? So all these companies just extract profits and give it to their largest shareholders. So we the users, we the consumers, we the depositors vote with our actions. If we stop using Facebook, if we stop using Google, if we stop using the banks and start using decentralized services, that's where the power is going to go. We decide where the power goes. Just like the reason I always use voice over IP as an analogy is because 4 billion people all over the world voted with their action. And you look, in the 90s, AT&T made almost 100% of its profits from international voice. Pull the statement from AT&T and see, they make nothing. They make zero from voice communication, right? So we took all the profit away from AT&T and we gave it all back to the people. Right now, we're using voice over IP. This is a voice over IP transaction, right? A 3-way VoIP transaction. Mm-hmm. Who are we paying? Are we paying it? Yeah, so I'm saying, like, and this is a decentralized service. There is no one company that owns it or manages it, just like Facebook Facebook owns 60% of the internet, or Google owns whatever 90% of email, right? So to enable that, right, we got to create decentralized applications like Voice over IP. It's one of the very, very few remaining decentralized applications. So the internet used to be decentralized. It's launched as this beautiful decentralized thing, and then these giant companies centralized it, right? They centralized video streaming. They centralized the social media. They centralized all the utilities like email and others on the internet. So, and here the blockchain comes and basically presses the reset button. It allows us to reset, retry, reimagine the internet as a decentralized service yet again, as long as we deliver on the promise, meaning as long as we, the user, the consumers, vote with our action for the decentralized services and against the centralized services.
Sure.
Interesting. So,
and kind of
not to be provocative or anything, not to be,
No, this is good. This is
we
what
love
we
it.
want.
We love that. We appreciate that.
I know.
To talk about Celsius real quick, and I know Celsius is not that old. It's maybe a couple years old at this point, and you've already accomplished a lot in terms of, the I'm looking at your website right now. You've loaned over $1.2 billion in loans, and you've had a $5
You
billion.
need to refresh the screen. It's over 2 billion now. So.
Oh, perfect. Even better. Let me ask you, can you kind of just give a high level of how Celsius works and what are the next steps for Celsius in terms of your roadmap going in the future?
So first, we did not take any money from venture capital, from all these big boys who basically force you to give all the profits and all the yield to their shareholders, right? Because if you took that money, you automatically commit to run run everything in their best interest. So we did an ICO, right? We had 1,500 contributors from all over the world. We raised substantial amount of money with them that we used to basically build the service, and we opened the service for free. We don't charge any fees, right? There's no origination fee, there is no commitment fee, there's no early withdrawal fees or termination fee. All these fees you see everywhere else, and we do not have any of them. You can go and look on the internet and ask anybody if they ever paid Celsius a fee. So the model we created is, again, a model that always acts in the best interest of the customer, meaning if we cannot create any benefit for you, we're going to charge you $0. If we created a benefit, let's say we earn $10 from your capital, that's how the banks make money. They just take your money and make money on the money. We will keep 20%, we will give 80% back to the community. So people are very excited about Binance, BNB. You're familiar with BNB, the coin that Binance has? Yeah. Binance gives 20% of the profit. We give 80% of the revenues, right? So if you bought a sandwich for $10 and the seller of the sandwich made $2, then Binance would give you 20 cents, right? We would give you $8 out of $10 back. Right? And we give it to you as Bitcoin or Ethereum. We are the only guys that actually do that, right? We charge the hedge funds and the exchanges, and we take those coins and give them to the retail depositor, right? It's like really, what's happening on the average? Like if you go to, Lending Club or any of these places that lend money, you will find out that it's hedge funds lending to retail, right? Lending to the average Joe. We're doing exactly the opposite. We're aggregating coins and stable coins and deposits from people from 150 countries, and we lend them to hedge funds and exchanges. So we flipped the whole model on its head, and just like a hedge fund does, the hedge fund keeps 20% and gives 80% to the rich LPs, limited partners. We give 80% to our depositors, right? So we're doing exactly what the bank is supposed to be doing. We're doing what your community bank used to do 50 years ago. But they don't do that anymore because they all got bought out by Citi and by JP Morgan and all these people. So the point is that, why are we doing that? We're doing that because we believe that only if we do this much for the depositors, we will bring the next 100 million people into the blockchain. If you don't do that enough, they're just not going to come. Like you said, what is it going to take to get the millennials to trust you, to test you out, to see that you're delivering? It's going to take several years of performing. And our average customer today already gave us 9 deposits, meaning they give us a small deposit, maybe $500. They see how we performed, and they give us another one. And each time they're withdrawing the coins from different places. Because you see, what most people don't understand is when you keep your Dash coin, for example, when you keep your Dash coin on Binance, Binance earns staking rewards. They just don't give them to you. But if you take the same Dash coin, even if you have $10 worth of Dash and you deposit it with Celsius, Celsius pays you 7% because that's what we earn, right? So it's not a complicated process, right? We do the same thing that Amazon or Costco does every day, right? We just do it in the financial world.
Which coins do you support, and do you look to expand the types of coins that you support in the future?
So we have 20 coins today. They're broken into 3 buckets: the traditional coins, like Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin. Mm-hmm. We have stable coins. So that's stable coins are for people that don't want to take directional risk. So they can just take their dollars or euros and earn 7 or 8 or 9% return, where they cannot earn that in the traditional world. And the third group is staking coins, which are, again, coins that, like with Dash, for example, you have to have $80,000 worth of Dash to run your own node. So if you have less than that, you can't earn it, right? With Celsius, you get exactly the same pro rata. If you have $10 or $10,000 or $100,000, you'll earn exactly the same pro rata interest rate because we're acting in your best interest. So I think it's all intended to build trust. It's all intended to grow our AUM and withdraw these coins from exchanges, because most exchanges are like banks, right? They just take your money, they take your deposits, they make money on your money, they front run you, they arbitrage you, they short your coins, they do monkey business all around because they're not regulated, right? And what Celsius does, it makes them pay a toll. It makes them actually pay money to borrow these coins, right? When Binance needs coins, we charge them money for it. When Bitfinex needs coins, we charge them money for it. They don't get it for free. So it's just a no-brainer for most people to withdraw their coins either from their cold storage or from the exchanges, deposit them with us. We use BitGo, so it's custodied with a very reputable firm, and when we lend it out, we have collateral against it.
Alex, Adam and I are both attorneys. We're both in the blockchain space in addition to our general.
All right, let's end the interview right here. Thanks, guys.
So my question is, you'll like this. I want us lawyers to know, what would you suggest to help make this a friendlier transaction engagement cut through on a large scale to make this space more friendly?
So look, I think staying compliant and working with the system instead of trying to be defiant and thinking that somehow you can avoid the entire financial system and run underground. I think that's just a losing proposition. We, for example, Celsius from day one required every depositor, every customer to do KYC and AML, right? Know your customer and anti-money laundering, because we believe that if we're not a good citizen, if you're not compliant, our days are going to be numbered, and all we're going to do is hurt the community we're trying to build. So I think creating more of these compliant services, and we proved that you can do everything you want to do in a compliant way, right? When I started, I went to a white shoe firm. I'm not going to mention their name because they're probably going to sue me, but that was too easy. It was a layup. But the point is,
we got your back, though.
I hope it's not my firm. That's all.
So they gave us bad advice, and they told us you can't do any of these things, and they were just not creative, right? So I think we had to push the envelopes. We had to ask a lot of hard questions. We had to go and talk to several lawyers, but we found a way to do everything we're doing in a compliant way. And I can tell you, every regulator I've met all over the world, I'm yet to meet one regulator who just looked at what we do and said, I'm going to shut you down as fast as I can. And again, we operate in 150 countries. I can tell you every regulator wanted to learn about it, wanted to understand if it was good for the people, wanted to make sure that we're not a Ponzi scheme, that we're not just kind of trying to pay other people with the money from the new depositors. We obviously don't do any of that. What we have is a very simple mechanism, right? We publish a weekly rate. The rate that represents what we earned the week before. If we earn nothing, we're going to publish a rate of 0. So we don't need to create a Ponzi scheme because our rate fluctuates based on our earning ability. If you see Bitcoin rate going down, you know that the wholesale market for borrowing Bitcoin is going down, meaning the cost of borrowing is going down. So because we just represent the best efforts of the omnibus account of Bitcoin that we have. Right now we have close to 20,000 Bitcoins on deposit, right? So it's a big number. So probably the largest single pools that people can borrow from in the world, you know? So I think the opportunity here is to work with the system and to work with regulators and with attorneys and use lobbying group and use everything that the big guys do, the banks do, but convince the regulators and convince different governments that you're acting in their best interest. I'll just give you one simple example, right? I mean, we lend dollars against coins. So if you have 10,000 worth of Bitcoin, we tell you, look, don't sell your coins, right? Because we want you to hodl. And we're going to give you a $5,000 loan against it. But we're only going to charge you 5 to 9%. And we originally went to lawyers. They said, oh, you need a license to do that all over the country. And we found out that most states in the United States encourage low rate lending, meaning if you don't charge above the usury laws, right, more than 15%, some states are 12%, but in most states it's 15% or higher, which is what the banks charge on their credit card. If you charge less than that, the states actually encourage you to lend out. They want you to do that in their states because they're trying to promote lending. So most states in the United States do not require a lending license for Bitcoin, for example. So when you find out these things, you're going to say, wow, you know, the laws actually work in your best interest. You just need to know them. And it's been so long since any bank charged any borrower on the credit card less than 15% that we forgot that these laws even exist. So we just pushed the envelope and created these opportunities and charged our community as little as possible, not as much as possible.
That's great. We want to be mindful of your time, and I know we have some guests that are tuning in that want to ask some questions. Looks like we just lost Alex for a second. So
maybe we scared him off.
Oh, there we go. Okay. We brought up the lawyer question and then you exited. I saw what you did there. We want to get to some of the questions from some of our live viewers. Let's see here. So it says, what dashboard do you use? I don't know if you understand that question.
Sure, yeah. So we created our own. It takes inputs from many different sources, obviously, like CoinMarketCap and the traditional stuff that we just feeds you data. But also we created a lot of other proprietary feeds. Again, our job is to extract as much value as possible for these assets. So the type of information we love to see are volume of transactions, how much shorting there's going on, for example, for any coin, because we lend coins for shorting, we lend coin for market making, we lend coins for transactions. Like sometimes people just need to denominate their transaction in Bitcoin or in Ethereum without them taking balance sheet risk. So they'll give us Bitcoin, they'll give us dollars or stablecoin as collateral. We'll lend them the Bitcoin, and then they want to transact in that without taking the risk of Bitcoin go up or down, because all of our customers are long only and so on. So our dashboard has, I don't know, 100 different indicators that are all feeding these information to tell us should we raise the rates or lower the rates on what we charge for these coins.
So next question is.
All right. Next.
Go ahead, Drew.
Celsius is rethinking the use of the cell token for U.S. customers. Any hints on future direction?
Yeah, it's a great question, because we issued an alert to the community saying that we are working with our lawyers to review the cell token functionality in the U.S. in light of new SEC guidance and CFTC license, not CFTC, but
FinCEN.
Yeah, FinCEN and other regulators. And we are definitely bringing back the use of cell token to the US community. We're just waiting for our lawyers to give us the exact language that we can use. So even though our website right now says right on the front page, cell token cannot be used by US residents, blah, blah, blah. I can assure you that, because we already got initial feedback that we can do it. We just need the exact language of what it is and how it is and so on. So a lot of people were concerned about that. A lot of US users were worried that we are taking it away. We're not taking it away. We just wanted to make sure we had a very detailed review. We have 3 law firms, and we're waiting for all 3 of them to agree to say the same thing. If you guys want to opine, we'll have 5 different firms to give us opinions. But the problem is that the law is not strict. The law is not as clear as you would think, because these are new assets. These are new asset classes, and most of the rules that were not written for Bitcoin or Ethereum or for the cell token.
Correct.
Well, that's what controversies, whether it's Facebook or whoever's going before Congress, it's going to take, unfortunately, some bad acting to clarify these laws. I hate to say that, but I mean, there's no other way. Just start exploring everything as issues arise. Adam, as you know, that's where courts start looking at it at first impression. So I think what you guys are doing is absolutely wonderful, and the diligence that you guys are taking with your lawyers is even more representative of that.
And you need to use it enough in commerce to really understand what to regulate. I mean, if you write a law before it was even used, then you're going to write the wrong law, and it's definitely not going to be good for us. So I actually think the regulators are taking their time, just like the internet. The first 10 years were not regulated at all, right? I mean, basically the Congress said, do whatever you need to do, we'll figure it out later. And I think we're kind of going through this here. And I don't see that as a negative. I don't see it at all as something that's hurting Bitcoin or hurting the crypto community. There are a lot of bad actors. There's a lot of people who are here just for the quick buck. And that's not what we're trying to do. So for us, for them, it might be bad. For us, it's actually a good thing.
Yeah, and it's important to be at the forefront of these issues too, and to not only have a perspective from, let's say, the beginning of blockchain implementation, Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, to where it is now, to where it's going. I mean, the fact that we do have Libra, and I totally understand your opinions on it, but we have Congress literally this week, trying to understand the technology, trying to understand what Libra's doing, I think is a good thing overall, that it's going to be a mainstream issue to think about, to consider. So finally, maybe we get some regulatory clarity.
Yeah, I think Facebook will force the issue. It might be a little bit early. They're forcing the issues a little bit early. And my problem is that they are not the public blockchain, the consensus-based open ledger that we're all talking about. I want to make sure that your listeners and viewers understand that there is nothing in common between the Bitcoin and the Libra. Okay, so it's if Congress decides to regulate Libra in a certain way, that is not necessarily a good thing for the Bitcoin, because those are not the same things.
Right.
Just because Facebook called it a cryptocurrency doesn't make it a cryptocurrency.
Agreed. I hear you. I understand where you're coming from with that. So, do you want to take any more questions?
Sure, yeah, if you have another one.
Okay. Is this margin account?
So yeah, I think I understand the question. We do offer effectively margin loans. It's equivalent to you owning Facebook stock or Apple stock, and instead of selling it, you go to your Fidelity or Charles Schwab broker and you say, hey, don't sell my stock. How about you give me 50 cents on the dollar against it, and I can use those dollars to pay my student loan or to pay my credit card or whatever else, right? Hoping that the Facebook goes up, and this way I can basically pay the loan right out of the increase in value. So Celsius provides margin borrow for Bitcoin holders, for our depositors to do margin borrow. But people that don't need that, the margin borrow, we provide interest income, right? So you on either one of those sides. So when you don't need a loan, you're earning interest. When you need a loan, you can borrow at 5 to 9%, right? So we are charging, if you look at our competitors, they all charge 16, 20, 24% because they're there to make as much money out of you as possible. We're here to pay you as much as possible. When you need a loan, we shouldn't be ripping you off or acting like a loan shark just because you need a few dollars. So when we came to market and we priced ourselves at 5 to 9%, everybody called us a scam, and we're just here to grab your coins. Well, we've been doing it now for 2 years, and we have not charged anyone more than 9%. So most of our customers pay less than that. So I urge the rest of our community and the rest of our competitors to lower their fees and to eliminate their fees and to charge lower interest rates. If you're in crypto for real, you're not here to rip off the depositors.
Mm-hmm. Any interest in making Celsius like an exchange so that people can begin trading?
There are 400 exchanges out there, right? They don't need another one. We don't need another blockchain. The last thing we need is one more blockchain or one more exchange. So we're committed to only do what delivers value for our customers. Helping them buy and sell promotes activity that we are fundamentally against, right? If we stand for HODL, right? Hold on to dear life. We started our business, the Bitcoin I think was $16,000. It went down to 3,500. Everybody was laughing at us. Oh, these HODL guys, we hate them. What are they promoting? Everybody who HODLed lost money. No, everybody who HODLed, we paid interest. Imagine if you got 8% interest at 3,500, that interest was really 3x today because Bitcoin is 3x today. So you really earned 20%, not 7%. So that's what people don't understand, that because we pay you in Bitcoin. So you had more Bitcoin. When it tripled, your interest tripled also, right? So when other people pay you some interest in dollars or in stable coin, that's not the same as getting Bitcoin in your wallet, right? So I'm proud to tell you that all of our hodlers, without exception, made a killing during this up and down period. They went on this roller coaster ride with their eyes open, not with their eyes closed. Now we bring it to a full close.
Now, in terms of, and this is one of my last questions, events coming up. I know you and I actually, I think you and I met at Block Show Americas back in January. I was on one of the panels. Do you have conferences coming up that you're planning on attending? Are you going to return to Block Show or any of the Block shows?
Yeah, we're doing a ton of them. I mean, if you want to see the schedule, it's on our website, www.celsius.network. There is a whole listing of conferences that we're attending. I'm doing keynotes. Next week, I'm going to Singapore. I'm going to China, and I'm doing Korea. So I'm doing 3 countries just next week, and we're speaking everywhere. I mean, the rest of the team is presenting. One of our chief compliance officers in DC today, speaking on a panel that's talking about the blockchain regulation. So we're all over the place. You can find us easy by just doing a search online. And I mean, again, this is about communicating and educating people about what's important, right? Because again, there's a lot of speculators in this business, but the speculators are not the one who are going to finish this race. You want the handoff to the 4th guy who's going to finish the 4-man race is going to be more users like the ones we have here. If we bring 100 million users who, for example, want to earn interest or want to lower their cost of borrow, right, which is every person on the planet, Bitcoin is going to be at all-time highs all the time. It's never going to go down because all these people need everything we just talked about. But if you just bring speculators who ride this roller coaster up and down, then great. A few speculators are going to do well, but most people are going to lose their money, just like they do when they try to trade FX or trade commodities or trade anything else. It's just very, very difficult to time the market and get in at the right time and get out at the right time. So all I'm saying is, I'm happy to meet and talk to everybody. Just look at my schedule and come to the events, come support the community. And again, vote with your dollars or with your euros or yens for the decentralized services. But do your homework. Make sure you don't give these to scammers and to con artists who are just here for the short term. I have 6 kids at home. I already retired. I tried retirement, didn't work for me. I couldn't find the off switch. So as you can see, Celsius is my 8th startup. And, I raised over $1 billion at $3 billion in exits. I'm not doing this for the money, that's for sure.
Awesome. Well, that's tremendous
we
presentation
so
on crypto and Celsius. I encourage everybody to check out Celsius.network. Definitely going to check it out myself. So, Alex, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having us, and see you at the next event. Yes.
Awesome.
That's my favorite attorneys. So don't spread the hate. Love.
Yes. I can get my second opinion in one shot from both of you, right? So
perfect. Yep. One fee, no problem. We'll charge you in Bitcoin.
Yes.
All right. Have a great night. Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.
Take care.